No.
Good.
Oh, well, I don't care what this much is. No, I was gonna bring my contacts down.
Not bad.
Okay.
They're all here. No,
I'm trying.
You're on.
I'm really trying my best.
Okay, we're on. Yeah, they got it. Yeah.
Yeah, 10 o'clock right on the nose. Okay. Are you ready,
Yes.
Loretta and Joe? Very good. Then good to go? Thank you all so much. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to all of you, both who are here present and those who may be viewing us online. We will call to order the regular weekly meeting of Lawrence County Commissioners. Today is Tuesday, July 14. Couple of housekeeping items. Commissioner Boyd is not with us today. He had some personal matters to tend to, but two of us are here and that constitutes quorum, so we are able to conduct our business. We would ask if you do have any type of an electronic communication device, if you please put it on silent or vibrate. We would appreciate that courtesy. And again, we welcome all of you to our meeting today. We always start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we'd ask you to remain standing for a brief moment of silence. And our coroner is with us. Mr. Johnson, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing. We'll have a brief moment of silence. Thank you all very much. Vanessa, would you mind calling the roll, please?
Commissioner Steele-Vogel?
Here.
Commissioner Vogel?
Here, so we do have a quorum. We always set aside time for public comment. We will have that in just a few moments, and then prior to adjourning the meeting, we would ask that your comments be related to county government matters. And if you do have some issues to bring before us, we welcome that, but we also ask if you try to maybe limit your time to about 5 minutes out of respect for people's schedule. We'd appreciate that courtesy. Under the next item, the row officer reports and comments. As noted, our county coroner, Mr. Johnson, is with us, and I know we have an item on the agenda in a few moments. But in the meantime, we always set aside time if any of the elected row officers have any reports they'd like to make, anything over and above what you're here for, anything at this time, RJ?
No, you're good.
Thank you. Appreciate your being here today. Moving on then, I will open the floor for public comments. And sir, your timing's right if you have a comment to make to us today. You came in just at the right time.
Yes, sir.
Could you identify yourself and we'll be glad to hear from you.
Okay. My name is Urban Perkins. I attended last week's commissioners meeting, and I commented on paperwork my father received during the pandemic. And I was wondering, did anybody find out any conclusion?
Well, Mr. Boyd was going to look into it. He's not here today. And I believe we had given you Mr. Ackerbaum's number in court administration. I don't know if you've had an opportunity to speak with him. You know, as Mr. Boyd noted, with court matters, those court matters do not fall under the jurisdiction of the commissioners. Those fall under the jurisdiction of the courts. But so I don't know if you've had a chance to call Mr. Ackerbaum, the court administrator. I gave you his phone number.
No, I gave you my phone number to get to him, and he never called me back. It's been about a week now.
Well, I handed you Mr. Ackerbaum's phone number.
Oh, I gave Commissioner Boyd my number.
Okay, yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Okay.
We can let Mr. Boyd know that you were here. I'm not sure if he's here tomorrow, we'll let him know that. But in the meantime, again, I'd respectfully suggest that you may want to call Mr. Ackerbaum.
Yeah, but my problem is not with Mr. Ackerbaum, it's with the county courts.
But as we noted, the commissioners do not have jurisdiction over the courts. Mr. Ackerbaum is the court administrator. he works in the courts and he's the appropriate person with whom you need to speak.
Would you take a look at this document, please? I'm not getting anywhere with Mr. Ackerman or, so that's my.
But again, it's signed by, Judge Acker, so that's
No,
something that doesn't go through the courts.
the date is what I'm contesting.
You
If we
still,
was on mandatory state lockdown, how can my father have a hearing? It doesn't make sense.
the courts were in the process of having different types of hearings happen. It's for Judge Acker, so again, you have to go to Michael Ackerman to start that process to see why that happened. He's the court administrator, he can advise you on that date, what was happening with the courts and why you got that notice. I mean, I think it has to start there with him, because again, it's from the court system.
This is a serious situation, because my father just passed away July 4th.
I understand that, I saw that, and you have my sympathy, I did see that in the newspaper.
I mean, and I'm getting nowhere. I'm trying to find out what's going on while my father received the hearing.
But
And
this is not the area for there to be any assistance for
okay,
you.
would you lead me to that direction?
Mike Ackerman.
Can you call him downstairs?
This is not the forum for that.
We're not his boss.
No.
He reports to the judges. He doesn't report to the county commissioners. But if you call him, I'm hopeful that he would be able to help you.
I have to call him.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please do that to move
Do
forward.
you still have his number that I gave you? If you don't, we can write it down again.
All right, that's fine.
Okay.
That's fine.
Joe, could you please do that? That phone directory's over there. Would you be kind enough to, on a blank sheet of paper, provide this gentleman with Mr. Ackerman's number?
Yes, I will.
Are there other public comments this morning? Okay, yes, ma'am, Mrs. Hahn.
I do have one question. I noticed that the live stream feed, the placement of it on the website has changed 3 times, and I'm just wondering why that keeps moving around on the website.
I truly don't know the answer to that, unless, now Rick DeBello was here. I've not had, Rick DeBello is our IT director.
Right.
And in fact, you just missed him. He was here getting us set up. I certainly.
And I'm not sure, I would venture a guess to say, with everything being so fluid and announcements coming in, and now with the monies being distributed, I'm sure that the links for that were put on there.
You can try
It's
YouTube.
Very, very.
They pull
fluid.
right up on YouTube.
Oh,
Okay.
yes,
there
you
you
can
go.
find it after
Yes,
a while if
okay.
you're, savvy and you can
Right,
find it.
right.
But it seems like once you make a placement and a location for it, I mean, just for consistency's sake,
Mhm.
it would be easier for the public
Right.
to
Sure,
find it.
right. We'll take that into consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there other public comments this morning? Okay, we will move along. I might add that we'll be referring to a number of documents throughout the course of the meeting. If anybody wishes to see them, I'll be glad to provide them to you at the conclusion of the meeting. Under fiscal and contractual, we do have 3 warrant registers that have been provided to us by the Controller's Office. They are dated July 6, 9, and 10. The warrant registers are the documents that list the various checks that have been cut by the Controller's Office for payment to various vendors and recipients. We'll give you a moment or two to look them over, and Loretta, as you go through them, if you have any questions, feel free to bring them up. I'm seeing looks like we did a whole host of foster parent
Right. Mhm.
payments. Quite an extensive list of individuals who are foster parents. Whenever you're ready, Loretta, I could entertain, unless you do have questions, I could entertain a motion to accept these documents. Please take your time.
Sure. Nothing unusual. So I will, I'll make that motion to accept.
Thank you so much. I will offer the second. If there is no other discussion, all those in favor of accepting the warrant registers, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. The motion carries. Thank you. We have the minutes of the July 7 meeting that was held in this room last week. And give you a moment or two to look them over. And whenever you're ready, I could entertain a motion to adopt the minutes.
So moved.
Thank you, Loretta. I will offer the second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye, opposed, the same sign. Motion carries.
Okay.
We'll move along to staff reports. And then following that, we have commissioner reports and comments. And it looks like I get to go first, followed by Loretta. I want to remind everybody that I'm not sure if it's listed on the agenda or not. It's not, but tomorrow at noon, the prison board will hold its regular monthly meeting. Commissioner Spielvogel chairs that board. Next week, for our commissioners meeting a week from today, I'm going to be absent.
Okay.
I'm participating in a seminar, 3-day seminar down in Harrisburg. So, but I'm assuming the two of you are here, we'll be able to conduct business.
Yes. Very good.
The other thing I'd like to note, I have had the privilege and the honor of just recently being nominated by the governor to serve on a board known as the Election Law Advisory Board. This board was established earlier this year as a result of Act 12 of 2020. And the board, the Election Law Advisory Board, has the following duties: to study the provisions of Act 12 and identify statutory language to repeal, modify, or update the act, collaborate with other agencies and political subdivisions of the Commonwealth to study election-related issues, to study the development of new election technology and voting machines, evaluate and make recommendations on improving the electoral process in the Commonwealth by amending this act or through regulations promulgated by the Department of State, and implementing best practices identified to ensure the integrity and the efficiency of the electoral process in the Commonwealth. The board consists of a number of state legislative leaders, as well as a number of residents from throughout the Commonwealth, including some other county commissioners, some of the folks that I'm acquainted with. Now, our names have been submitted by the governor's office to the Pennsylvania State Senate, and they have to vote on these nominations. So I'm not a member yet. It's subject to a vote of the Pennsylvania State Senate. And but I'm truly honored and appreciative to have been nominated for this board, which incidentally I don't believe pays anything. I don't think I'm going to get paid to serve on this board. So I was initially contacted by Senator Vogel's office to see if I was interested, and I believe the senator forwarded my name on to the governor's office. So I'm very grateful for that.
Excellent.
Thank you. That's all I have. I'll see if Loretta has anything this morning.
Well, I always do. First of all, congratulations. And
Thank you.
I know we have said it time and again how lucky we are, Morgan and I both being new to these chairs, that we have somebody with your experience, your reputation for being that person that should be nominated to such a board to serve in that capacity. So congratulations to you. Yes, most definitely. once again, talking about the census, let's not forget about getting those census forms filled out. It matters a lot. It matters a lot for the next 10 years, especially with everything going on and happening now. We don't know what the future is going to bring, that we need to, pay close attention to the services that we will get as a county. And again, those are afforded through the participation in the census, so please do that. Another thing that I wanted to note is that, yes, we have had another uptick in our cases, in our positive cases for Lawrence County. We've not yet received any particular direction from the state to do anything different than what we are doing now. We just say to continue to exercise caution and wash your hands, use hand sanitizer, wear the masks, be as cautious as you can, that we can try to slow the spread of COVID, not only in Lawrence County, but the state, the country, the world. So please continue to be vigilant on that aspect.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you so much,
Sure.
Commissioner. I appreciate your remarks.
Yes.
Well, we'll move on to new business, and the first item on today's agenda pertains to our coroner's office, and Coroner Johnson is with us. We appreciate your joining us, sir. The issue before us involves the per diem rate for the coroner deputies, and the resolution would establish that rate at $175, and we would then enter into an independent contractor agreement with the deputy coroners. If I'm not mistaken, the county solicitor, Mr. Leslie, has had conversations with your solicitor, Attorney Madore, and they've reached this conclusion. In conversing with Commissioner Boyd, he indicated that he's comfortable with this.
Okay.
I do want to note that. We did talk about it. But Mr. Johnson, do you have anything you'd like to discuss regarding this proposal?
This, when it says coroner and deputy coroner, that's because whoever's on call that day is has that capacity. But this specifically is for my per diem. I have a couple guys that just are on call 1, 2, 3, 4 days a month. That's it. They don't get any other compensation. So this is just for, if you're on call that day, this is your compensation. If you get a case or you don't get a case, it doesn't switch hourly or anything like that. This is just, and that rate's been stagnant for some time.
Right.
So my initial proposal back in January was for $225 a day, and through conversation we agreed on $175, and there's more than enough allocated in that line item.
Thank you, sir. I'll see if Commissioner Spielvogel has any questions for you.
That works for me, definitely.
Likewise.
Good.
Thank you.
Vanessa, what number would we give this? 185. 185? Mr. Johnson, you are welcome to stay if you wish. I don't anticipate any problem when it comes up for a vote. If you have to move along, we understand.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
The next item of business involves the West Central Job Partnership Workforce Development Board. Throughout the Commonwealth, there are what are known as workforce investment boards and then governing boards that oversee the operations primarily of the various career link offices throughout the Commonwealth. The district in which we're located is a 2-county district consisting of Lawrence County and Mercer County. The 6 commissioners from those 2 counties make up the governing board. So, and I think we meet on a quarterly basis, if I'm not mistaken. And they're public meetings, and we rotate. We go back and forth. Sometime one meeting will meet here at this building, and then the next meeting will go up to Mercer County. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, I think the next meeting is next Thursday, and I'm not going to be back in time. So
Okay.
we need 4 for a quorum.
Okay.
Hopefully we'll get it. And I can't remember if it's in Mercer or I think it's here, but I don't want to say that with certainty. But we'll check.
We will.
We'll check that out. The other board is a board of volunteers from throughout both counties who serve as the Workforce Investment Board, and their terms are staggered, and the appointment responsibility rests with the commissioners. And in doing so, when it involves individuals from Lawrence County who serve on that board. The three of us have the authority to make those appointments. Same is true for Mercer County. And if I'm not mistaken, the board is evenly divided between residents of Mercer
Of each
County
one.
and residents of Lawrence County. So we have some positions that are open, and these names have been forwarded to us, and I'll read them as follows. And I think a couple of these folks, I know of at least two of them who are currently serving, maybe three. The first person is Tammy Barbati, who actually works at the Pennsylvania Career Link office here in Newcastle, and she's a resident of the county. The second person, and this gentleman has been on this board for many, many, many years, Joe Clavelli, and he's affiliated with BCL Management Company, and he is also a resident of the county. The third person is Dr. Susan Lautenbacher. She is the Chief Executive Officer of Lark Enterprises, which is, of course, based here in Lawrence County. And the fourth individual is Mr. Joseph Miller, who is the plant manager of Burner International, which is based out in Shenango Township. These are the four names that have been submitted to us. I did not get a chance to ask Morgan about this, but I'm assuming he would be comfortable. How about you? Are you?
I would think so. I
Okay.
would think. I
And then
mean,
do you have-
you're familiar with them.
Other than Mr. Miller,
Right.
I'm not acquainted with Mr. Miller, but
Right.
Greg Dogan has probably reviewed all these
Right.
people.
I was going to say, we're trusting that the process has taken place
That's just
already.
submitted these names.
Greg did?
Yeah.
Okay.
The first three I am acquainted with,
Okay.
and you may know a couple of them as well. They're all, the three that I know are all good people,
Yes,
I can tell you that.
yes.
Do you have any other thoughts or concerns?
No, I think that we're familiar enough with it, and if it was Greg that submitted the names, then we would be comfortable with taking that vote.
Well, thank you for that.
Yes,
And again, as noted, these people serve as volunteers. They're not
Right.
compensated for the work that they provide. Their term would run through June 30 of 2023. So Loretta, unless you object, we can move on this later in the meeting.
let's do
And
that.
we'll make it 186. Thank you so much. Mr. John Bout, who is our CYS director, is here, as well as our friends from juvenile probation. We appreciate all three of you taking the time to join us today. And we have a significant number
Yes,
of contracts that you're going to run through, hopefully somewhat expediently, but yet thoroughly. And what I would ask as you go through each of them would be if you can tell us if they are either new or contract renewals, and that will be helpful to know. And if you do have any new ones, do you?
Not in terms of vendors that we've never used before. We have one that we used a few years ago that the board has seen and
Coming back.
That's coming back.
The reason I ask, and actually I'm going to say this, but then I'm going to amend what I say. I was going to say the ones with which we are familiar, you can give a brief summary, and the ones that perhaps are new or coming back, you can give a little more detail. However, out of respect for the fact that Loretta's in her 7th month, and maybe there are some you want to know more about. And I guess as he goes through them, please stop him if you want to know more about any particular agency. And he can, hopefully, the three of you can give you more detail. But with that, I will turn it over to you, and we're going to start with the first one, which is which would be proposed resolution 187. I'm not sure who's going to speak on this. John?
Commissioners, may I approach with an updated summary
Oh,
of these
absolutely.
contracts?
sure.
By all means.
See, I knew I didn't have to worry that I forgot mine.
Thank you, sir. Do you have an extra one for Mr. Boyd? And if you do, could you give it to Joe? And then we'll see that he gets it. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Do you have any extra that the public might want to take a look at? If you don't, I'll gladly share mine when we're done.
Okay.
Okay,
Or I can leave my copy behind.
okay, that's a good, yeah, thank you, John. Please proceed.
Commissioners, am I following the order that's on the agenda?
If you're able to, that would be very helpful, John.
Sure.
Please take your time.
John, I left them in the order that you had given them to me, if that helps, other than I put the budget amendment first,
Okay,
and then it follows the order that you gave me.
I wish I would have followed that order. So the
The
first,
first one is good, because we'll always accept the additional revenue. We're doing where it came from. That is not a problem. If I could just break the ice right now.
thank you.
Okay.
Our CYS advisory board.
Yes.
Much thanks and appreciation to our CYS advisory board. They contributed $1,000 for the agency to purchase a canopy tent, 20 by 30, to be installed in the front lawn of the Elmira building so that we can have outdoor open air meetings for child visitation and also for training. So again, this resolution addresses the $1,000 income coming into the county from their in kind.
Yes.
Moving down the list to purchase service agreement, that resolution is in regards to our foster care increase. In our Act 148 budget,
I apologize for interrupting you. Please forgive me a minute, because as I was going through my packet, the one you initially referenced, the $1,000 one, was further back in my packet. And do you have that one, Loretta? It's towards the back, and it amends the 2020.
Yes, I have it. Mine was in order. Mine's right here, yes. Okay.
Is this the one? Yes, this would be on our agenda, A3. Is that correct?
Yes,
So we're gonna make, and bear with me, we're gonna make A3 number 187.
187.
This is the one
yes,
involving the $1,000 for the
Correct.
tent. Okay?
right.
That's number 187. Please bear with me. Then you're now ready to discuss what will be number 188, which is A4
Mhm.
on our printed agenda. And that's the one, the purchase of service agreement involving CYS, if I'm not mistaken.
that's correct.
Okay, I'll let you go from there.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thanks for your indulgence.
Welcome, Commissioner. That purchase service agreement is in regards to the agency's operated foster care program. Lawrence County Children and Youth Services operates its own internal foster care program. As of July 1st, as part of our approval for Act 148, our state funding, we have requested an increase in the per diems that foster parents receive. For some time, those rates have been stagnant at 18 a day or 21 a day. Last year, we did a study of the counties that surround us and the rates, and took into account, as part of Family First, we needed to ensure that we had enough family settings for children. And so the state approved our rate increase to 27 a day, birth to 11 years old, and 30 a day for 12 to 21 years of age. So this resolution acknowledges that we operate our own agency, and as part of the payments that we provide to parents, there will be an increase that the controller's office sees as part of our invoicing.
For my own benefit then, as we noted, this is on the printed agenda, A4,
Mhm.
and I just want to read it just so I'm up to speed myself. We're under the therefore. The purchase of service agreement under the provider, Lawrence County Children and Youth Services, shall be in effect for the period of July 1, 2020 through June 30, 2021. Costs are incurred only if the provider or service is being used by Lawrence County per the agreement, and authorization is hereby given to execute an agreement with CYS. Am I reading the correct proposed resolution.
Yes.
And that'll be number 188. Keep in mind, I haven't run a meeting in over 6 months. That's why I'm a little slow on the draw here.
With
Okay.
you on 185 with me, so.
On this one, Loretta, do you have any questions for John
No.
on this one?
I got a tutorial yesterday on foster care. Very interesting, very informative, so thank you.
Welcome. Thank you for your time, Commissioner.
No, thank you. I know you're very busy. Thank you.
The next one would be, we've done A4. A5 would involve the County of Jefferson, Ohio, on behalf of Jefferson County, Ohio Juvenile Detention Center. And the reason I'm emphasizing Ohio is we have a Jefferson County in Pennsylvania. This is A5 on our agenda. This would be, if we move forward, would be 189, but I'll let you give us the details on it.
If I may, I will speak on this contract. This is a contract for secure detention for juveniles. This is not a new, this is an existing contract. We're requesting renewal with this agency. Yes, it is across the state lines, and typically we don't contract with services outside of the state of Pennsylvania. However, our pool of secure detention facilities, especially on the western side of the state, is very limited. What we had used before was Edmund L. Thomas Center in Erie. However, they have, in essence, closed off the doors to other counties and are only servicing Erie County specifically right now.
Would that be due to COVID or other reasons?
They have done that multiple times, I guess, and I think it's just primarily based on their own needs at the time, and could potentially open up, another later date, to other counties if there's room per se. But right now, we've been told that they're just servicing Erie County at the moment. So this is actually even a closer facility, even though it's in Ohio, for us here to service Lawrence County. The type of facility or the type of kids and situations that we would run into are your more serious offenders with much more serious types of charges. Those that have potentially been decertified from criminal court would potentially use this type of facility. This is in lieu of shelter care. Like I said, this is just a much higher security level of type of facility. Still, hopefully, have a 30-day turnaround potentially by the time we have our 72-hour hearings, adjudications, and disposition. Most cases shouldn't be longer than a 30-day stay for any juvenile individually, but the need to have this type of facility, we are contracted or obligated, I guess, to use this for certain types of cases, runaway status for certain things. So we are required to have a contract of secure detention somewhere in the use for our office. So whether it be Ohio, like I said, it actually serves us very well. It's really a good straight shot down 376 for us. But if we could please renew the contract with them, we would appreciate that very much.
Commissioner Stillvogel, any questions?
Not ever a one, whenever you get here, Lisa, we have a long working relationship from my past association, and with the director, Patrick Micco and I go, I'm not gonna say way back, just back. So I know that what they do is definitely fiscally sound, and it's like you said, if it's something that is required by the state for you to have, then you have to have it, and it's just the lay of the land. That's how it goes. And I know same thing with CYS too. You are required to have certain facilities available for the youth that you may come in contact with.
Thank you.
No, sure.
When you do have to go out of state, like in this instance, does the Commonwealth, do they have any certain guidelines or stipulations? How do they verify the legitimacy of such an agency that is outside of the borders of the Commonwealth?
That was a need that was established based on the lack of secure detention. We have the Schumann Center, Westmoreland County, and Edmund L. The only 3 detention centers, and as she mentioned, Edmund L. CYS has expanded their operations, so they converted half of that for dependent kids instead of a secure detention center up at Edmund L. Thomas in Erie. As far as Westmoreland, they keep it pretty full between Washington and some other places. Actually, Lehigh and not Lehigh, but Fayette. They get a lot in there, but they're generally full, so we have one facility. So Ohio, across the line, we have an interstate compact agreement that is in place, and that allows us to, and that was put into place with the Commonwealth, so automatically Beaver County will use them. Butler County has started to use them from time to time now, and you're seeing now even Crawford County is called, as close as they are to Edmond L. Now they've run short. In fact, their director called me and asked me where we're putting kids for secure detention, and I told them where, so they had to create a contract. So that's becoming commonplace, and my biggest fear is eventually they might quit taking our kids because they might stay full. And that's always because there are kids that really should be in secure detention coming out. Shelter care is irresponsible to put a kid in when they're being held at that time for more serious, usually firearms charges, rapes, IDSIs, voluntary deviants. So you have all kind of, but we're worried about losing that facility now too. So we want to keep a contract with them. We don't program fund anything, so it's as used.
Is it safe to assume that, particularly with counties that in the Commonwealth that border either, let's say, New York, New Jersey, Maryland, et cetera, that this could be taking place in other parts of the state? May not just be unique to us, that maybe there's a county on the northern border that utilizes a facility in New York State. You may or may not know whether there is, but can we assume that there might be?
I would guess there would have to be.
Okay, all right, that's good. I appreciate that background. That's very helpful. Thank you both for that. This is Resolution 189. Loretta, any objection to moving it forward?
None.
Okay, thank you. Our agenda item is A6, and this is the Pittsburgh Protection Services. Does that correspond with your order, John? That would be the next one?
It is, Commissioner.
Who's going to talk about that?
I will, and if you'd indulge me for just a minute, I'd like to just extend a thanks to juvenile probation beyond their attendance here today through my first year with children and youth. Pat, Lisa, and their staff have been incredibly helpful, very collaborative, and I just can't thank them enough for their professionalism and their help. So, yes.
Kind of you to say that. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Commissioners, A6 crosswalks on the list that I gave you to 2A. Pittsburgh Protection is our armed security at the Elmira building. This is a renewal. The rate for this current fiscal year is proposed at $22.73. This vendor is out of Allegheny County. And in terms of total cost to the county, and again, so many contracts, I apologize for the multiple pages. Last year's total cost to the county was $3,069.54. That's 20% of the total cost. So state and federal share was $12,278.19. I think in terms of negotiations, one thing I wanted to share with you, this vendor had requested a 4.5% increase from the previous year, and we were able to negotiate a 1% increase. So they got something, but not nearly what they wanted.
Thank you, John. Commissioner Spielvogel, questions for Mr. Bout?
I would, I know that you've used them and you're satisfied with the service that they provide. That's the main thing that's there.
Yeah, they're the building guard that we currently have and the company that we have, they've been consistent.
Okay.
And the guard has taken great time and attention to both inside the property and outside the property. I have to share with you, even going as far on one occasion as finding that one of our employees had a potential flat coming with their vehicle and saved that employee from going onto the road and having troubles down the way. So, yeah, we've been pleased with their consistency.
Thank you, Loretta.
Yes.
We will make this proposed resolution number 190, assuming there are no objections. And next on the printed agenda, A7 would be the, oh, y'all done?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good seeing
We
you.
share some things, but John has said he would take care of the ones we share, because it's the
You're
Same thing, the only
comfortable?
specific would be detention.
Okay, you're
Thank you.
comfortable with everything moving forward?
Yes, sir.
Appreciate your both being here.
Thank you
Definitely,
all.
good seeing you.
Have a great
Okay.
day.
All right.
John, you're on your own now.
That's okay.
We're
Here I am.
looking at, okay, A7 on the printed agenda. This is a proposed resolution with the Children's Advocacy Center. John, go right ahead.
Sure, it crosswalks to 4A on your cheat sheet. This is a renewal, community-based services. $30,000 for a year for forensic interview and multidisciplinary team. $48,156 for family reunification, and $74,048 for parents as teachers. They are Lawrence County based in Union Township. In terms of the number of children that they served last year, it was 100 plus. All of their programs included. For this year, I would assume that that number will be the same or frankly more. And their program capacity ranges from 75 to about 125 total children served. In terms of cost, last year the county share was $21,981.28. Addition, that's 20% of the total. State and federal picked up $87,928.72. And we are satisfied with this provider.
Commissioner Spielvogel, do you have any questions for John?
I do not.
Thank you. I don't either, and we will make this proposed resolution 191.
Let me add, I'm familiar with the agency and those that are there, and I know the great work that they do as well. Yes.
Thank you for noting that. I
Yes.
appreciate it. On the printed agenda, A8, which would then, if we move forward with it, would be resolution 192, and this involves Cray Youth and Family Services. Actually, the next three
Right.
involve Cray Youth and Family Services, and tentatively, we'll make them 192, 193, and 194, assuming that there's a consensus to move ahead. But do you want to talk about each of them, John?
Sure. So commissioners, A8, 9, and 10 crosswalk to 13A, all included. So Cray Youth and Family Services, this is a renewal. They provide a variety of programs, including foster care, in-home programming, after-school, independent living, and visitation. Cray's foster care last year served 35 children. 42 families were served by truancy. 55 families served by home builders, and 50 plus served by visitation. In terms of total cost to county was $310,681.76. 20% of $1,641,406.76. And if you move to page 4 gives you, for this vendor only, a breakdown of their cost, and I'll review those. Crossroads, $250.65 weekly. Community service, $105,600. Kirkwood Visitation Home, $479,730.73. Homemaker Program, $33 a day per child. Home Builders, $400,000. Independent Living, $249,991.75. Truancy, $260,000. And then for foster care, they have two different rates. They have one base rate, which is $52, and then they have a specialty rate, which is $85. And when we talk in terms of specialty, best example I could give would be a pregnant teen.
Right.
Thank you for those details, and I'll see if Commissioner Spielvogel has any questions.
No questions, but comment again, Cray Youth and Family Services does an excellent job for the community. Don Kemmerer at the home is a good fit for the programming, definitely. Their entire staff is, and again, my background, I've worked with them. I know the quality of work that they do, so.
Dawn and I graduated from high school together, so if he tells you any stories about me, they're totally false.
It's too
Okay. John, you want to move forward?
Yes, A11. Cross,
We've, forgive me then, we've covered all three crays,
yes.
and I'll put them in my to vote on stack. And now we're going to talk about the Cyber Protection Bureau of Neville Township, which is, I guess, down in Allegheny County.
That's correct. That crosswalks to 1A on your cheat sheet. This is a renewal. It's for private investigator, family finding, rate of $100, based out of Allegheny County, and also sub-based out of Butler County. Last year, they served 2 client families. I would anticipate somewhat similar numbers for this year. Their program capacity is upon request. They're open for business and really could serve whatever flow that we would have for them. Total cost of the county last year was $276.06. Again, that's 20% of the total cost, which was $1,124. We use them in times where we have been unsuccessful at locating a parent that is part of the dependency court process. And we need to be able to provide notice to them of proceedings so that they are informed of a court process, and also in trying to engage a parent that at some point in time was separated or lost custody of their child for reunification purposes.
Thank you, John. I'll ask Commissioner Spielvogel if she has any questions.
I do not.
Okay, and I don't either, so we'll make the Family United Network number 196. And we will move on. The printed agenda would be A13. And this is the Lutheran Service Society of Pittsburgh, if that's the correct one, John.
Commissioner, I think we skipped over A12.
Family
On your
United
list.
Network. Yes, we did. My mistake, not your mistake. That was my mistake.
Oh, wait.
195 would be cyber protection.
Cyber protection, correct.
We're gonna
196
We're gonna go to 196, which you have yet to
Service
discuss. This is-
Families United.
Yeah, so I apologize. That was my error. And this will be 196, and you're gonna talk now about Families United Network, which would be number 12 on our agenda.
And it crosswalks to 5A on the cheat sheet. This is a renewal. They offer programming for foster care and congregate residential care. On the foster care side, their rates range from $48.73 a day up to $133.31 a day. And on the congregate care side, those rates range from $133.90 up to $208.07 a day. Their programming is in multiple counties. Last year, they served 4 children. They currently have 4 children of ours in their care. And in terms of cost, county cost last year was $14,715.54. Again, 20% of the total. The state and federal contribution was $58,862.16.
John, I thank you for that. My recollection is that the town of Muncie is out in Lycoming County, out near Williamsport, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
And I'll see if Commissioner Spielvogel has any questions on this one. Okay, this is 196, Families United Network. We'll move that one forward. We'll move on then to number 13 on the printed agenda, the Lutheran Service Society of Pittsburgh.
This crosswalks to 6A. This is a renewal for foster care. It's one rate of $86.98 a day. It's in Allegheny County. Last year, the agency had 5 children placed there. Currently, we have 4. And in terms of cost to the county was $22,614.80. Total picked up by the state and fed was $90,459.20. Again, county share 20%.
Thank you, John. Loretta, any questions?
No.
I don't have any either. This is number 197. And if there are no objections, we'll put that in the pack to consider later in the meeting. We're going to move now to the proposed, this is number 14 on your printed agenda, the Pathways Adolescent Center based in Oil City in Venango County. John, I'll let you talk about this one.
7A on your cheat sheet. This is a renewal for congregate care. Their rate varies between $155 a day and $165 a day. Total number, and this is a program that had both CYS and JPO involvement. Last year, 5 children were placed there through CYS, 6 through juvenile probation. Currently, in this new fiscal year, 4 CYS. I have none from JPO. And then in terms of cost breakdown, I'm going to give you a cost breakdown for both CYS and JPO. On the county side for CYS, the total cost was $4,888. On the JPO side to the county was $18,150. Total on the state and federal side. So state and federal government contributed for CYS $19,552. And on the juvenile probation side, $72,600.
Thank you, John. Commissioner Spielvogel, questions?
None.
Thank you. This would be number 198 for consideration later in the meeting. We're going to move to what's number 15 on your printed agenda, Keystone Adolescent Center of Greenville up in Mercer County.
Correct, and this is 8A on your cheat sheet. This is a renewal. They offer foster care and congregate care. On the foster care side, their rates range from $78 a day up to $118 a day. On the congregate care side, their rates range from $151.46 a day to $290 a day. In terms of the number of children that were at Keystone, this is again a program split between CYS and JPO. On the CYS side, 18. On the juvenile probation side, 24, all last year. Currently, in this new fiscal year, we have 4 CYS and 4 JPO. And then the cost breakdown on the CYS side, county share, $58,110.48. On the juvenile probation side, $46,253.72. The state and federal government contributed the remainder, which for CYS was $232,441.93. And on the juvenile probation side, $185,014.88.
Thank you for that information. Commissioner Spielvogel, would you have any questions? Okay, again, that's Keystone Adolescent Center. We'll make it number 199. We're moving on then to what would be number 16 on the printed agenda, the Children's Aid Society of Mercer County based in the borough of Mercer. John, please go ahead.
Commissioner, this pertains to 9A on your crosswalk. This is a renewal. The rate is $70 for foster care. In terms of the total number of children, 7 were served during last fiscal year, and we currently have 6 placed there this year. Cost breakdown to the county, $23,982. 20%. The state and federal government picked up the remaining cost, which was $95,928.
Okay, John, I thank you for that information, and I'll ask Commissioner Spielvogel if you have any questions.
No.
Okay, thank you. That will be number 200. And let's see, we're going to move next to the, which is number 17 on the printed agenda, the Bethesda Children's Home based in Meadville, Crawford County. Go ahead, John.
So commissioners, this, I'm going to list on your crosswalk, as it says renewal. But last fiscal year, we did not have this contract. Last time this contract was in place believe was fiscal year 17-18. Bethesda offers foster care and congregate care. On the foster care side, their rates range from $47.87 up to $218.90. On the congregate care side, the rates range from $204.41 up to $379.52. Again, this contract was not in place last year. We have no cost and we have no children served.
Loretta, questions for John? This will be number 201. Next on the printed agenda, this is item 18. And this is the Devereaux Foundation doing business as Devereaux Advanced Behavioral Health in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. Go ahead, John.
Commissioners, this is crosswalk at 10A. This is a renewal. This is a congregate care facility that is a residential treatment facility. The rate, and I'm going to give a little explanation here in a second, but the rate listed is $4 a day. When you look, we have one child currently placed there. In the previous fiscal year, that same child is there currently. And then in terms of cost to the county, total cost to the county was $233.60. And then the federal government picked up in the state $934.40. But in terms of our staff identifying needs of a child, getting that child to the proper clinicians, it has served us by having this child placed in an appropriate level of care that meets the child's needs, working closely with MHDS, and then managed care. The overall cost for this program daily is $782 a day. So of the $782 a day, which in my head I know is over $250,000 a year for one child, we were able to bring that cost to the county down to $4 a day. But when you look at the $4 a day, again, of the $4 a day, we parceled that to only 20%. And the remainder went to the state and federal government. So the child is where the child needs to be to meet their treatment needs. And there's a tremendous over $260,000 cost saving to the county by the way our staff handled this child's care and placement. So credit to my staff more so than to me, for sure.
Loretta?
And I'm familiar with this facility and placement, and I know that they've done, the staff at COAS have done a very, very good job, and it is the proper placement. And continue the contract, yes, most definitely.
Please thank the appropriate people if you would, John.
Absolutely.
We'll make that one number 202. I'm sorry? I have 202.
I have 202.
I'm talking about the one in King of Prussia, the Devereaux.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yep.
We'll make Devereaux number
I was
202.
one step ahead.
That's all right. We'll get there. So 202 is Devereaux. And then if we move forward on the next one, which would be 203, is the Crossroads Group Homes and Services based in Farrell, Mercer County. That's number 19. And I think it's your last one.
It's my last one. Last but certainly not least, they crosswalk to 11A. This is a renewal for congregate care. On the boys' side, they have rates based off of gender. On the boys' side, it's $125 a day. And on the girls' side, it's $150 a day. In terms of the total number of children served at Crossroads, that's a typo. We do not have.
Okay.
So yes, ignore on your crosswalk where it says 100 plus. Yes, I'll need to get that to you with that number. It's possible that a zero was added on my list, but I want to be able to confirm that.
My first guess.
Yes. In terms of total, in terms of total cost, on the county side, it was $88,987.03. That was 20% of the total, which was $355,949.97. So after looking at the total cost based off the per diem there's a substantial number of youth that were served by Crossroads. So it wasn't 10, but I don't want to commit to 100 plus either.
Right.
Loretta, do you have questions on this proposed
I
resolution?
do not.
Okay, thank you. Again, Crossroads Group Homes and Services of Farrell, and it's number 203. Does that conclude the documents you have for us at this time, John?
It is, Commissioner.
Okay. As we said to the coroner and to your friends from JPO, you're very welcome to stick around. If you have to move along, we certainly understand, although maybe I should see if you have any final questions for John. I'm very impressed with how you have a handle on all of these. It's there's a lot here, and you seem to
Yes.
have a good knowledge of each and every one of them, and I commend you for that.
Thank you.
I know this is a little out of the ordinary. I know sometimes you'll come in with 3 or 4 proposals, and this is fine. This is what we got to do this. And but I'm impressed with how you're able to keep track of all of them.
Thank you.
Certainly.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. And I'll ditto that remark as well.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
So thanks, John.
Thank you. I'm going to excuse myself, but thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Have a great day, sir.
You too.
Yes.
We have 2 proposed transfers before us. This is number 20 on the agenda. And Joe, if you're able to tell us this, the requests come from the courts and they say contingency. And I ask this all the time. Am I to assume it is the court's contingency, not the commissioner's contingency? Okay, I appreciate your clarifying that. As long as I've been here, these come up and I probably ask it every time. So the first is, as noted from the courts, they are asking for a $7,000 transfer from within their budget, from their contingency line item into that of equipment maintenance. And the second request is for a transfer also from the court contingency in the amount of $2,000 towards materials and supplies, specifically for the purchase of a desktop computer in courtroom number 1, and also judicial sheets, but not pillowcases. I'm sorry, I had to, that was a joke. Judicial sheets, which I assume are paper documents, that's my assumption. So, Loretta, let me see if you have any concerns or questions about either or both of these.
I do not.
Okay. Joe, any concerns on your part with as these are submitted? Okay. Well, that being said, could I then, I'll take a motion for approval of the of both requests if you're so willing.
So moved.
Okay, the motion has been made to approve the transfer requests as submitted. I will second Commissioner Spielvogel's motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, the same sign. The motion carries. The transfers are approved. At this time, what we would need to do would be to take a motion to amend the agenda.
So moved.
And thank you. And I'm going to second it. This will allow us to consider the documents we've discussed so far this morning. Resolutions 185 up through and including 203. It's been moved and seconded to amend the agenda. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, and the same sign. And that motion carries. We start with proposed resolution 185. Coroner Johnson was with us earlier in the meeting. This would adjust the per diem rate for his deputies. This is resolution 185. Is there a motion?
So moved.
I will second. Any discussion?
No.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. The next item, proposed resolution 186. This was submitted to us by West Central Job Partnership as it pertains to the Workforce Investment Board. This would appoint the following 4 individuals, or in some instances reappoint these individuals to the board: Tammy Barbati, Joseph Clavelli, Dr. Susan Lautenbacher, and Joseph Miller. Is there a motion for resolution 186?
So moved.
Second, discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Vanessa. Resolution 187 was brought to us by Mr. Bout. This would make an adjustment to the budget we did get unanticipated revenue of $1,000 coming into the CYS fund, and we will earmark those dollars to the minor equipment line item for the purpose of purchasing a tent. And those dollars did come from the CYS Advisory Board. Resolution 187, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second. Questions or comments, Loretta?
Just a comment that I would make, because it seems a minor thing that it's a tent, but given the climate that we're in today, that tent will certainly be good having there out in the open, social distancing, allowing more things to take place. And I think that was a good thought, a good purchase, and we're thankful to the advisory board for doing that. Yes.
I agree. In fact, it reminds me, Loretta and I were at a meeting yesterday in Clarion County of other commissioners from the northwestern part of the state. The meeting was held outdoors at at a county park in Clarion County at a huge pavilion with picnic tables, but we spaced ourselves out accordingly.
Right.
We couldn't have done that inside.
No.
And the weather was nice and it worked out very well. And your point's well made. This would be comparable to that. So we do have then a motion for resolution 187. I believe it's been moved and seconded.
Yes.
I'll ask for a roll call.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Vanessa. Loretta, what I'd like to propose would be to take an omnibus motion, since the following resolutions, 188 up through and including 203, are all contracts with CYS and or JPO. I would be willing to take one motion to cover all of them. If your preference is to go through each one, I'll respect that.
I would agree with the fact that we could take them all at once. I think
you're-
the opportunity for discussion was there. We were in agreement with moving them forward.
Okay, if you're so willing,
I am.
I appreciate that.
Sure.
Could we then have a motion to approve resolution 188 up through and including resolution 203, noting that they all pertain to the presentation made by Mr. Bout, and they all involve contracts between CYS and or JPO and the providers as noted. Could
So
I have such a motion?
Yes.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. And I will second that and see if you have any other concerns or questions.
No.
Okay. Joe, anything from your end?
No.
I know you don't have a vote, but I want to make sure
You're
you're
very familiar
Correct.
with me, the provider.
good.
Oh, that's great. That's good to know. Yes.
And you and I have a lot of signing to do later today. We have to
Yes.
sign these contracts, but we'll get through it.
We'll get them.
Well, thank you, Loretta, for that.
Sure.
The motion's been made to approve resolutions 188 up through and including 203. I have seconded the motion. We'll ask for a roll call, please.
Commissioner Spielvogel?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogler?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thanks, Vanessa. Thank you, Commissioner.
Sure.
This meeting ran a little longer than what we're used to, but as you can see, we did have a good deal of business to transact. I'm going to move down to announcements. And as noted, the commissioners will meet again a week from today at 10 o'clock in this room. I'm going to be in Harrisburg at a seminar, but I'm hopeful that my two colleagues will be here and will be able to conduct the business of the county, which I greatly appreciate that. I'm going to open the floor for public comment if anybody wishes to either ask a question or make a comment at this time. Mr. Craig, good morning, sir.
Good
Craig,
morning.
Michiana Township. I have a couple of votes by mail.
I'm sorry, Dick, could you
Vote
start?
by mail.
Yes.
I'm 100% behind vote by mail, but there obviously needs to be some adjustments. My wife and I voted, mailed it in. We're sitting there and said, well, how do we know our vote got there. So we called the elections, and the guys, oh yeah, they're here, I can verify. Okay, to me, that should be an automatic, like an email back or somehow. The other thing, the 300 or 400 votes are hanging out there in limbo. It's my understanding, two things. Number one, almost every other county in Pennsylvania has approved those as good votes. I don't know if that's true or not, but I've heard that. The second point is, it's also my understanding, if say it would have been my ballot, they're supposed to notify me that there was a problem with my ballot. I'd like to know if that was done. Who sits on the voting committee?
The Board of Elections, by state law, consists of the 3 commissioners unless any or all of the commissioners are on the ballot in that given year. So consequently, this calendar year, it's Commissioner Spielvogel, Commissioner Boyd, he's the chair, and myself. We comprise the election board.
So you make any decisions? Because
No, we adhere to the rules of the Commonwealth. We have
at least take part in interpretation rules, because here's what happened last election. I had a problem. I was handing out subride voting, had a nice, calm discussion with the judge. She asked me not to do it. I was doing okay. I said, okay, that's fine. I talked to Ed. And then the state guidelines from the State Department had said, and I said, here, Ed, this is what I was doing right here. And he said, oh, those are only guidelines. So who determines this is a guideline or this is the fact?
Well, the fact would be whatever the law says, whatever the legislature has passed relative to the election code. That's the law. Now, the State Department may have guidelines, but those guidelines have not gone through the legislative process, nor have they been signed into law by a governor.
Here's what I'm speaking of. In the Shannick one, they used to vote up front, they're back up there now, but they used to be there for a while in the back. And the state guidelines say you have to stand at least 25 or 50 feet from the door to the room where the ballots are being taken, where you vote. In that office, you went through a double door, walked about 35 feet, got to another door, then into the room. So I was standing at the double door, and somebody complained, so they asked me to move, and I moved. I mean, I'm just saying, we need to get some clarification as to, okay, this is a guideline or this is a state law. I mean, if that's a state law, then nobody can interpret that, right? Unless somebody changes the law.
If the law is challenged, that's why we have the court system. And laws are challenged, as you know, and then they're taken in front of a court. And there's even that process where, whether it's at the county level, the Court of Common Pleas, and if a party is not satisfied with the decision of the Court of Common Pleas, it then goes to Commonwealth Court. And if the Pennsylvania Supreme Court chooses to accept it, it could go as far as the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, as far as appealing the lower court's decision.
All right, I'm going to pursue this, because I really think the most important part of the point is that these 300 to 400 votes didn't count. There's 300 to 400 people that, as far as I know, don't know their vote didn't count. They thought they did it okay.
Right.
Where most of the other counties in Pennsylvania accepted the same type ballot. So.
There were several that did not, because I questioned myself, because there was information that was passed along that Lawrence County was the only county that did not count them. That is untrue. Okay. At our meeting yesterday, as a matter of fact, I questioned
it. We still need to get stability.
And I agree with you, and that's a good point, and I will personally check with our director of voter services to see what is in the guidelines, the law with those ballots that were not counted. Do those people need to be notified? That is a good point.
Really, that's the important part. If it's true, and I believe it is, they need to be notified. They need to be notified.
Right.
And I agree. If the law says they do, then they do. It's that simple. If the law says that.
Sounds like where I picked this up, the law says it because it said each ballot must be made pure. And that doesn't sound like something somebody talked in the back room. It sounds like something was written in the law. That's it.
Yeah.
Sure glad I came on a slow morning, by the way.
I know. It was so good to see you come through the door, and then I looked at the 3 pages, and I thought, Oh, no, poor Jake, he picked the wrong day.
I figure I'll get a little bit late on that there, and I'll get out of here at 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah, not today, but you, by the way, you took a nice picture in the paper. the
Yes,
other day.
that was nice.
It wasn't the police blotter either.
Dick, it's always a pleasure to have you here.
Always.
Good to be here.
And give our best to Anna.
I will.
Yes.
Thank you. Anything else from Dick? Other comments from anybody else in the room? Thank you. I'll ask if Commissioner Spielvogel has any closing comments.
I do not, ready to adjourn.
Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate you all joining us today. Again,
Yes.
sorry it was
Right.
a long meeting, longer than usual.
Yes.
Maybe if Mr. Boyd was here, we'd have been done by now.
Yeah,
But,
he speaks faster sometimes, I
He
think, but
does.
either way, it was a lot to get through. I'm glad we got it done and the contracts are moving forward, yes.
Exactly. Well,
Yes.
thank you all. And
Thank you.
again, don't forget to, well, a lot of you are doing it already. Don't
Right,
forget your
put your
masks.
masks on.
And please be safe. We wish you all good health.
Yes.
And wish you all a good rest of the day. May I have an adjournment motion, please?
So moved.
I will second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, oppose the same sign. A motion is carried.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Hi, Rhonda. Oh, by the way, I think we're still on. I think somebody has to come in and turn the,
Right,
so I do want to note that the camera is still rolling.
so you're on camera.
Oh,
You need his signature.
Sure.
I mean, I don't.
Oh,
Good seeing you. I know, good seeing you. Good, how about you?
okay.
Never. You take care, yes.
And that's fine, whenever it's convenient.